First thing I'm going to do is get my number 8 brush, put into some clean water. You have to prepare the paper for the washes that you're going to do. So I just stick my brush in the water. I don't have to just leave it there. Remember, we don't leave our brushes just sitting in water long term. But I can push in like this, grab some, and I just put a little bit of that dot, that excess, to fall back in so that I can move my brush without water falling off of it. Okay. I want quite a bit of water inside of my brush still. I'm going to go into this section right here, and I'm just going to put some clean water onto my section right there. You'll notice I have to dip back and forth a couple times. I think I'm going to dip 3, possibly 4. I think I'm going to dip 4 times just for good measure, making sure I've got water on my paper. You'll notice, watch where I'm putting my brush. Do you see how I'm not going right up against the edge? See how I'm leaving that empty? Some artists will tape the entire edge of their paper as well to make sure they're not having the paint flow off of it. I'm just going to make sure my water doesn't go to the very edge, and then I'm not going to have run over problems. Okay. So you can see I did like 4 dips into the water. You can turn your head sideways, right? Like look on the side, and you can see the water shining off of your paper, right? That's what you're going for. You want to see that shininess of sitting water on your paper, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is just a general wash, okay? So for a very basic wash, I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to pick blue so that you can see the color a little bit better. Third hour, I picked the yellow for my wash, so it's a little harder to see. So you can see I'm just going to get some paint onto my brush, and then I'm going to drag it along the top of where I've put that water, okay? I'm going to dip my brush a few times up here at the top, and you can see how the water and the paint kind of mix together wherever you have the actual water that you would put down. Okay, so I want darker up at the top, and then I'm just going to take my brush. I'm actually not going to dip it anymore now I've done this. And I'm just going to be moving the water around. You can see I take my brush and I'm moving mine left to right. If you decided to move up and down, just keep with that movement. Don't try to change directions, right? The same ideas with colored pencil we're using here in watercolor. Sticking with that same movement of direction. I want to move from a darker blue to a lighter blue. So you can see I only dipped 2, then 3 times up here at the top to get that darker. You'll notice the paper starts to buckle, right? It's starting to give that nice convex look as it's bubbling up. And that's because the paper is taking on water, and so the fibers of the paper are getting looser. But we've taped it to the table, and it will dry back flat a little bit better, okay? But notice how we've moved that, right? We've just kind of let that happen. Some of it may pool near the edges of the tape because that paper is pushing up. I just kind of gently take that and brush it back in a little bit, trying to even that out. I like the figure 8 movement because I feel like it blends in pretty well afterwards. I don't want to leave too many just big blotches of paint around, but you can see just moving that through. That's a general wash. So I've got a clean brush. I'm going to get some water on it. Do the same thing and put water inside of this, not go straight to the edge, but get pretty close. I'm leaving myself an 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Just in a new section of paper. And this, I'm going to kind of look, see where the water's at. Do I need spots with more? Okay. Now I'm going to do a gradient where I move from one color to another color, right? So this is one of the reasons we needed analogous. So I'm going to pick green and I'll move to yellow. Okay, I'm going to choose a secondary and a primary. So I'm just going to get some green color on my brush. Do the same thing as my first wash, right? Dip once, kind of move that around. I need to dip it again. I'm just going to move to the middle. I only did two, I didn't do three dips this time, but I'm just going to get it to the middle. Maybe a little bit past, but not too far. Okay, I don't want to take that green too far over. I do need to clean out my brush. Washes move pretty quick, as you can see, right? We got to move pretty quick with washes, at least to get them started. So we got a nice clean brush. I'm going to go grab some of my yellow. I'm going to start on the opposite side here. Before I touch that green, I'll dip in one more time, get some more of that yellow, get that set. And then notice I'm going to push into the green with that yellow on my brush. Okay, I'm kind of creating that yellow green right here. Again, I like those figure eight movements. It kind of blends back in. Clean out my brush one more time. That yellow, there's kind of like a really solid line right here between the yellow and that yellow green. So I'll go yellow one more time just to push that in a little bit further, make it less intense of a direct line between yellow and green. You even do that with green if you'd like, if you feel like that line's too intense. It'll blend it out a little bit. Maybe not have perfectly straight lines. Now I might go in there and kind of mix it up just a bit so it doesn't feel perfectly like that. Again, you'll see paint pooling on the edges, right? Because that paper is starting to go whoop and push up. And so the water wants to roll because of physics, right? It rolls towards those edges. So some people leave them. I kind of like to just take them and kind of put them into the main area. Try to not have it just sit and cool too much. I just make sure I clean off my brush between each section. See that gradient? It's moving from one color to another. So as per usual, we just have to get our brush with water, okay? I'm going to move down to this bottom middle section. Fill in some water. So you can see the light reflecting off of the water again. You want to have some standing water. That standing water makes your paper buckle a little bit and bend. It's okay. All right. Now for the variegated wash, I'm just going to take multiple colors, and I move pretty quick on this. So you'll notice I'm going to come into this yellow green. I'm going to take some yellow green here. And I'm just going to make some splotches with my paintbrush. You can do it with any color, right? Your colors you can choose. We've already prepared a palette to be analogous. And then I'm going to plop some green, just plain green in here. I'll even take some blue-green. Really blue this time. And then I'll finish off with some yellow. Watch the colors just kind of move and mix with each other a little bit. You put in little drops and you'll notice it pushes and other stuff out of the way. Get some color on my brush, move it around. You get too much, you'll see it starting to pool. You want to kind of avoid the pooling. I wouldn't take and just mix it all together. You want to leave a little bit of this like stuff just kind of hanging out together. Okay. If you want to draw with your brush, you can a little bit. I like to do that moving in between the areas a bit, create some interest, but I wouldn't take and just all of a sudden do a big wash over the top of it again. So, bristles. So you can just kind of move the paint around a bit, create some interesting things happening. Go back into this clean water. I'm gonna wash ready up here at the top. I'm gonna do another variegated wash right here. Use more of this color right here. This time I might not do so many just like plops, but I might do some other designs here. So I'm just dragging the brush around. You'll see you'll put that color down and it just kind of like moves around. It's I'm going to clean out my brush once I've got that variegated wash all put on there. And then I'm going to take some salt. You should all have salt in a bag, okay? Check in there. There should be salt at the bottom of your box. Now, I've put this much salt in my hand. You're just going to reach into the thing and pick up a pinch of salt, okay? You should not be dumping all of this on there at once. But you're going to take the salt and you're just going to sprinkle it around different places. Justin, there's not a baggie in your thing? Just going to sprinkle some salt on. Okay, you don't want too much salt. You're not going to cover the whole thing in salt. You just want a couple of spaces. Notice as you're putting that on there, just focusing on the spots that you want it to go. You shouldn't be holding it way high and just letting it go all over your paper. Right? You should be kind of thoughtful about where you're putting that salt. The first one is what we call a wax resist. You should notice some crayons sitting inside of your should be some crayons sitting inside. You're going to pick one, maybe two. I do not have every color available to you, but you want your color to stand out a little bit more than the color that you chose, that you're going to choose to paint it, okay? So you want that to stand out a bit. I'm going to focus on some more of my blues. So I'm going to choose an orange so that it stands out a little bit more, all right? Now, what you choose to draw is up to you. Let me show you a few things. This is my least favorite one. I'm not going to show you this one. I'll show you these ones. So I've done like a lightning kind of thing before, right? Notice the paint does not go where the crown is. The crown was yellow, and I painted in between that. I used words sometimes. I wrote art. Something wrong with that, right? There's a flower right there. I had a blue crown and orange paint. This random smiley face, looking all psychedelic like. Okay, so the choice is yours, but you're going to draw a design. It can be random, it can be an actual item, okay, but you just need to draw it with your crayon. So just take that and draw whatever you would like inside of here, okay? Don't need to spend too much. This is just practice, so I'm just going to do some random designs here. That's fine. It doesn't matter where it's at. Definitely want to leave some white spaces. You just don't want to fill the whole thing in with a bunch of crown, right? You don't want to sit there and color it, but you can kind of see how you can make some stuff. And then you need to first prep it with water, right? This is still a wash. So I'm going to get some water on my brush, clean water. Use the paint over wherever the wax of the crayon is. Okay, so you'll notice even just putting the water on there, it is being, the wax pushes away the water, right? So now I'm going to pull some of my blues because that's what I chose to do. You can sit there and just paint across like this, and you'll see the paint kind of pull away from that wax. Or you could actually follow things around a little bit and just see how you want to throw that in. A little bit of freedom there, right? I like this one to have areas of darker and areas of lighter. If you've got like a drop of color, that's actually kind of interesting looking. See, if there's some areas, like if there's a lot of water, it will sit on top of it because it's just like a big pool on top of it. So if there's a lot of water, you'll see me go through here and just kind of pick up areas where that's too thick of water, and I want that wax to shine through. This is called a lift, so you just kind of lightly lift out some of the color that's there. For our final one, notice I'm going to get a bunch of clean water on here, okay? I'm going to do the same thing I've done 5 other times, right? Okay. Move that around. And this is my last one. Let's see. What kind of color do I want to do? Let me get some green here. Just going to do another variegated wash. Notice how I'm just putting color down pretty haphazardly, okay? You don't need to be don't be too concise on this one. Be pretty washy with it. Notice how I've got big, thick brush strokes moving, taking some of my color. I don't want it to move too much together, but I'm laying down really quick. Notice what I've done? You saw that was big brush movements. There's a reason the 8's nice for this because it's larger. Just putting a bunch down really quick, okay? You all grabbed a piece of plastic before lunch, right? So Justin. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to sit on top of my painting. You can kind of move it around a bit. I want there to be some areas that stick up and some areas that are touching. And you have a like minute of being able maybe to move it around. Where do you want to have it touch? Where do you want those puffy up spots to be? No. You have one piece of plastic. You can do it right after you get that wash done, and you're going to let it sit there. And then you are not moving that plastic until tomorrow when you come in. It has to stay there. If you take it off when it's still wet, it will ruin the entire look of what you're going for. I call this one a stained glass wash. Now, there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. You'll notice your washes should be fairly dry over here that we did before lunch, right? But I want us to move to this wash. We did this one just a little bit ago, right? So here's what I want to do. I'm going to get my brush with some water on it, okay? And I'm going to have quite a bit, and I'm just going to let a drop of water go. Gotta be careful with these drops. You don't want them too large, but I'm just going to do a couple drops of water and then leave it. And then I want my brush to be damp, so I'm just going to kind of lightly get off any excess water. And then I want you to draw. You'll notice I'm going to go over and over again in the same spot. You'll notice it starts to get a little lighter. Then I will draw on my brush. And I will pull my brush over the line that I drew. See that? Or I'll do it again. Okay, kind of just a wet brush. This is what's called a lift. You're kind of scrubbing away the paint, but notice I'm not putting a ton of pressure into it, right? If you use so much pressure with this during a lift, you're going to create a bunch of little spitballs, and you don't want to do that. Okay, just notice like a lift, you have to do a little bit after. A little bit after it's dried.